Yeah, the Western omelet sandwich.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Vince. Hi,
Hey,
Anna.
I'm not ignoring you. I got your email about the other meeting.
Okay.
The idea is just to come up with, I think, like an alternative. So there'll be the normal. We'll chat about it.
Rotary Club of Harleysville weekly meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And now the four-way test of all the things we say and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And our reflection today will be from Anna Haltman.
Good morning, everyone. May we be ever mindful of those in need. Help us to provide food to the hungry, to heal the wounds of hatred with our love, comfort those in sorrow, bring peace to those living in areas of unrest. Through our service to all, we thank you for all our gifts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Anna.
Sure.
Okay. Please be seated.
Yeah, there is.
Do we have some guests here today, or a guest? You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Rob Hadfield. Looking for it, but live in West Rock Hill, work at QMB Bank.
Okay, welcome. Yep, thank you for joining us.
I'm Connie Barr from Greater Harleysville North Pet Senior Services. I used to be in the satellite. I was skipped back, had to drop out for a few months, so then I decided to come back. Part of the
Yay. Welcome. Okay. So we had a great event last week, I think. Had, I think, a good turnout. I think the 4-H had a great turnout. Dean, you want to have like any final comments on how things went at the fair?
It was an excellent weather. We had much better weather for it. I haven't heard any numbers yet. As soon as I hear the numbers, I'll let you know. I'll have some more on the practice side.
Okay. Yeah, like Dean said, the weather was optimal. For what I observed, the crowds looked great. So I think they had a really great a turnout there. So I think it was really a really good event. So thank you for everyone who volunteered and came out. I think it worked out very well. And it's fun to drive the golf cart around for a little while. Yeah.
With your CDL license.
What's that? Yeah, things got air brakes. Yeah. Yeah. Carol, do you want, or Chuck, do you have anything you want to say about what happened at the Garden of Health on Saturday?
Oh, yes. I want to thank everybody. Frank was there, and Val and her son were there. It wasn't as big a turnout as I thought. You know, North Penn Rotary was there, and I think they had maybe 3 or 4 people. There was a couple students there, I think from Towderton High School. I'm not sure exactly which, but we had a beautiful day. The weather was nice. I was only there for maybe a half hour, so I had a prior commitment, and Mona was there for the rest of the day. But Mona took a bunch of crates of hot peppers.
I know.
Yeah. She took that over to the warehouse, and then I picked it up yesterday and distributed. So we had a good day. You know, I'm thankful for the people that did come out.
Yep. Excellent.
Hopefully we can do it next monthly. We're going to do. Hopefully we'll get a bigger turnout
Okay.
next month.
Excellent. Yeah. You know, we've been blessed this past 5 to 7 days with really cool mornings. So it's been really nice weather for outdoor activities like that. So coming up, the big event that we have coming up, probably one of our signature events, the golf outing, is coming up in a couple of weeks, a week from Friday. Lon, do you have an update on that?
Yep, I'm gonna send this volunteer sign-up sheet around. Again, we still need help that the day of the event, so if you can help out, that'd be great. And as mentioned previously, if you contributed anything for the raffles, I'm here today, and if we could get by next Wednesday, I'll be here next Wednesday too, so pass that around.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Are we looking okay for golfers?
Yeah, right now we have about 98.
We have there's 100 golfers.
100.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Up to 14.
There's another, we have to pay for
Yeah, we have to
120,
pay
so
for
we could use a couple more courses.
Okay, so we can still use more golfers. If anyone's talking about the outing, when you're out and about, what is that, 5 more foursomes? Yep, okay. The district governor visit is on the 31st, so that'll be in 2 weeks. We'll be having our board meeting after that meeting, so let's try to make sure we have a really good turnout to show District Governor Len what Harleysville, the Rotary Club of Harleysville is all about and what we're doing. So that'll be a great day for us. And now a couple of these other events I'm going to mention only because people have emailed me to mention them to me. If you're interested, the Quakertown Rotary is having their clam bake on September 13th. I think it's a Tuesday, but apparently that's a big event for them. Obviously, there's a link to that event on the district website if you want more information or want to register for that. Our next signature event is coming up in September, the first annual croquet tournament. Gary, do you have an update on that? Oh, Lisa.
Okay, so like you said, it's 1 month from today, and we are getting super excited. Things are coming along nicely. But I bet I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, is there anything I can do to help? Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. Well, I'm going to send around a sign-up sheet. We just need some beverages, some sodas, and some water, so you can sign up. You can bring them here to us and we'll throw them in our cars and take them over, so you don't have to run over the day of the event. Or you can when you come over to play. Also, we would like to thank everyone who has given us sponsorship so far, and we appreciate that. And if you haven't, I ask you to consider it. You know, the first year it's always a little tougher getting it off the ground. You have more expenses, and we could really use your support. So thank you very much. Go ahead, now I know you got more to say.
I'm here staying, because she says, you do it. This time she jumps up and says,
You can't have heard that.
Gary, do you have to be a certain age for that?
well, you haven't reached it yet.
Just breathing.
She's a serious.
Yeah, but we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a great event. Yep. There is another golf outing coming up in September. If anyone's interested in golfing, the Bluebell Rotary is having their golf outing on the 19th. Randy, do you have any updates or additional information on the Rotoplast event on October 15th?
I do not.
Okay.
As soon as I get them, I will pass that along.
Okay, so at this point, we're saving the date.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, thank you.
John,
Yes.
I have something to go along with that. Jack Brent, former president and BG, a member of our club here, sent me I guess he's going cleaning out his closets or something. But he sent me something for the club.
Ooh.
All right, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that'd be a great thing to hang at your event.
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
Say, give it to Randy.
Yeah.
Make that work. Well, I would take it on the trip and make sure some kids and stuff, or hang it, you know, John,
Yes.
while we're doing events and stuff too, if I could just, the same day as our croquet, that morning, I have 3 events going that same day. The Hope 22 event is going to be the 16th and 17th. Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, there's going to be a mental health awareness walk. It's going to go from the Hope event, county line, right down Main Street, Telford, to Penn Avenue, and then turn around and go back. It's to bring awareness to mental health. And people who are interested, I would encourage you, you can go on Penn Foundation's website and register. There's some incentives there if you're an early registrant, but we're hoping that we get our PennDOT come in and chose the road, but if not, we'll still be walking on the sidewalks down there. But that's the same, that would be the morning of the croquet in the afternoon. So
On this-
be up for croquet. You know?
Yeah. Good warm up. Yep. Yeah, as a reminder, depending on how you travel to come to the meeting, you may have seen their truck out there on 113 next to the Heritage. Yeah. There's a district polio event that same day also. So it's a busy, October's going to be busy. But, you know, as many of you may have noticed, polio has been in the news quite a bit recently.
Yes.
So that's something that we need to be, you know, Rotary's played a big part, obviously, in eradicating polio globally, but it's starting to rear its head again, at least in New York State, and who knows where else that is going to occur as well. I think all this, the drought and standing water, I think is a big challenge for that. And the Halloween Fun Fest we have coming up on October 22nd. Is there any updates on that from Dean?
Yeah, we'll need about 30 volunteers for that. It was a little light last year. We're going to be selling raffle tickets again. They just came in. We'll be distributing those. And we'll also have the Interact kids sell the tickets and help us out. Marcia's going to be running the volunteer list. So, like Lisa said, you're all wondering how you can help. There's another picture.
Yeah.
And I guess December will take a deep breath and stay home.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other events or anything else that they want to mention or comment on of the things that we discussed so far? Yes.
I just wanted to add, like, the risk of worrying about. Oh, I missed that, sorry. Sorry about that.
You were talking.
I heard him.
So,
Obviously, I wasn't listening, you know.
Marcia, can you So a segue into that, my daughter brought the 4-H kids here. She took them to Sauderton Telford Rotary last year. The table that talked through the whole presentation, and at the end they said, "Oh, we were talking, can you do it again?" She said, "Absolutely not."
Yeah.
Western on me.
I believe Phil is traveling, so we're not going to have Rotary trivia today. So our speaker today, we're going to have a classification talk today from someone who's very important in our club because he does a lot of stuff for our club. He's helped to create a new signature event for our club, past president of our club, and we all are looking forward to listening to him talk. Mr. Gary Holt. Watch your step there, Gary.
Dan will trip me up. Morning. So for the one person in the room that does not know me, I am Gary Bolton. There you go. I passed 70 years old a month and a half ago. I'm trying to catch up to Len. Looks like a tough race for me. But I don't want to start from the end. Life is good, and I don't want to start from 70 and go backwards. So I'm going to start from where I was born and raised and all that kind of stuff. Even before I was born. If it wasn't for World War II, I wouldn't be here. And that is the honest to goodness truth. Because my dad was stationed in Belgium during the war, and he met my mom, got married over there, and came over here. So if it wasn't for World War II, I wouldn't be here. So anyway,
Is the mic on?
is the mic on? Oh, hey, you there? It says on.
Yes.
Maybe the volume switch on the front of the podium?
Help me out, Dan. Hey, we're off to a great start, aren't we?
It's like we all know you have a big voice, just use it.
All right.
But now the TV's off too.
That's plugging the wall.
Sorry about that.
So you want me to start over? So when my parents came over here, little Gary Volpe was born in Montgomery County, in the Montgomery County Hospital on June 11th, 1952. And that hospital is no longer there. That just shows you how old I am becoming. Anyway, so I was born and raised in Plymouth Township, and had a lot of law enforcement in my family. Cousin, uncle. My uncle was the chief of police in Plymouth Township. Dad was the commissioner in Plymouth Township. But, Volpe's had it wrapped up over there. It was like I could do no wrong. But I was one of those kind of kids that didn't say, hey, my dad's this or my uncle's that. I always kept my nose clean and didn't do anything that was too far out of the law. And I say too far because the Plymouth police force called my brother and I Geronimo and Crazy Horse. That we were a little bit on the rowdy side. So, we were Plymouth Valley, if any of you know of it. My parents' house was one of the very first houses that were built there. There were little ranchers that were out of war era, and there was just enough room to get your bed into. The rooms were so small, and that's where I was raised for 23 years. My dad was a contractor, building contractor for residential construction, and he had done that for a number of years. And to show you how I got into the business that I'm in today. But what happened was, and I'll bring this up, I brought this up at a networking group, and I asked the question. I was surprised how many people raised their hands that remembered this. How many people remember the Plymouth Meeting Mall fire? Fire, where 1/3 of the mall burned down. Nobody.
No.
In the networking group, a lot of hands went up, but people remembered that. That changed the direction of my life, believe it or not. Just like World War II, it was another change in direction. So what happened was my dad was in construction for 12 years, in residential construction, and then he got a commercial job in the Plymouth Meeting Mall. And we were building a store. I was helping out there as a young guy, and we were building a store in there, first commercial job my father ever had. And the Plymouth Meeting Mall fire occurred. And I'm telling you, 1/3 of the mall was burned down. And so my father's company was contracted to do work in 22 stores that were burned out. And so he decided he was not going to do residential construction anymore. And I was like beside myself. I said, Dad, you have 12 years in the business, you got a great reputation. Why are you going to do this? Because I was 17 years old. I couldn't figure out that, hey, there's more money in commercial construction than in residential. And, he just said, this is the direction that I think I'm going to take the company. So I said, I can't see you just throwing away what you've done. And I said, I wish I could take it over, but I'm 17 years old, I don't know. He says, well, I can teach you one part. I can't teach you to be an electrician because you need to be certified. The same with a plumber. He says, I can teach you roofing. I said, that sounds like a plan. So he taught my brother and I how to do shingled roofing. It's the only kind of roof we did. We didn't do flat roofs. We didn't even do coatings at that time. So we started our little Volpe Brothers roofing back in 1970. And we went to neighbors, we went to friends, family, and that's where our business sort of started. And then we went knocking on doors down in Plymouth Meeting Park, if any of you know where that is, but that's where our business took hold. Out of the 270 homes inside of the Plymouth Meeting Park, by the time we had gotten through 4 or 5 years, we've worked on probably 170 of them. So we did very well in there. That was the foothold for our business. Rick, my brother, went to Lehigh University. And after 4 years, he said, this is way too hard a way to make a living. So he decided he left. And I was literally by myself. I would have to, I don't know if you hear that commercial, who did that commercial? If you hear the commercial about I carried every bundle of shingles up to the roof, that's what it was. It was back then, it was just me. That roof had to be ripped off. I had to tear it off myself, throw it in a truck, everything from A to Z. Because I had no employees. I didn't even know what to do to get an employee. My brother and I had worked 4 years on doing the roofs that we did. So I hired a part-time guy and then a full-time guy. And what I did, because people sometimes will say, well, how did you go through this? How did you survive through this and everything else that the world has to toss at you? And make the business succeed. And I was always that give the people what they pay for. Because on the roof, you can cheat people blind. You can cut corners that they don't know. And so my competition was doing just that. And so I said, that's what I did. I gave them what I went to at them honestly. And then our slogan came up. Now, this might be a few years later. Our motto is quality, honesty, and integrity. So who heard this before where I told about where the motto came from? Sandy, you? So now I'd raise the hands. You're going to remember this. How many remember Ford company saying quality is job one? You remember that commercial? I thought, I really caught hold of me and said, that is a great thing, I couldn't say, Volpe roofing is, quality is job one. Well, I would sound just like Ford, so I couldn't do that. So I said, but I do quality work. So I wanted to, and he said, and then as I just told you, I gave people an honest job. So I made the second leg honesty. So quality and honesty, but it still didn't ring correctly. And then I put integrity. Quality and honesty breeds the integrity. And that's where our motto came from. So as time went on, we kept adding more and more employees, and we did siding, we got into windows. And I'll fast forward a little bit, and then my son started to become involved also. And we made a big move up into Worcester Township. And as we kept growing, we've moved about 8 or 9 times to get to where we are. And we made a big move. We built the building on Germantown Pike, and we thought this would be the last place that we'll ever move to. And in 5.5 years, we had outgrown that place as well, and we're in North Wales now. So I'm getting maybe too detailed, but my son became involved in the business, and I would still go down and load trucks and all that kind of stuff because I love hard work. I love to do it. So when Rotary does something, I like to volunteer, whether it's how about Len, painting or, you know, working in a garden, which I haven't done in a while, ever since I hurt my back in her garden. That was
5 minutes and you threw your back down.
well, that's what happened. So, anyway, I lost my train of thought here. So the boys got involved, my sons got involved, and my wife was always very involved. If it wasn't for her, there was no way I would have succeeded. I should back up and say I got married in 1975, which was 5 years after I started the business. And she did everything with the bookkeeping, accounting, insurance, right, Kyle? I mean, everything that was dealing with numbers went to her. And so she kept us afloat. When I said, I want to buy something, and she said, no, we can't afford to do it. I said, yeah, I need it. And she would always put the brakes on for me. You know, winter time's coming, and so you can't buy something right before the winter. You got to wait until the spring. I mean, these arguments were constant. She kept us afloat for a lot of lean times that we went through. So the sons came into the business, and Janet and I said, you know what, we've been working at this a long time. We're going to do sort of a backseat a little bit. Instead of coming in at 6:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning and working until 5 or 5:30, I'm going to come in like maybe 10 o'clock. I'll roll in here and leave at 2. You know, I thought we had reached that point where we could do that. And then my son says to me, Dad, why don't we do this? And I said, okay, Stephen, we'll do that. And then Michael would say, why don't we do this? And I said, okay, Michael, we'll do that. And David said, why don't we do this? And I said, okay, David, we'll do that. Well, before you know it, they kept on giving us so many suggestions, and I kept saying, yeah, we'll do it, that the business just exploded. And so I was back to work at 7 o'clock in the morning again. And so now, as time has passed on, they have taken the major role. They run the business. I'm sort of, I call it semi-retired because I'm not allowed to say that I'm retired, because then my wife will get mad at me saying that I'll become a couch potato. And so I'm semi-retired. So my job all along the way is something I have always enjoyed doing. It started off with that hard work, carrying the shingles up to the roof. Then it became an estimator where I would work part of the day and run around and estimate roofs. And then it was full-time estimating. And each step of the way, I enjoyed what I did. And today, this is my job right here. You know, it's networking, you know, being part of Rotary, making contacts, that kind of thing for the company. That's all I do. But the sons run the business, you know, the day-to-day operation. If they ever come to me with a problem, I say, that's your problem, not mine. So anyway, when that semi-retirement time came, there was a pretty big void in my life. I mean, when you work 40-some years towards a goal and building, and all of a sudden you're handing it over to somebody else, even though it's your sons. And even though I still get involved with meetings and such, it was a difficult thing. And along came a woman, Laverne Sheets. And some of you don't know who Laverne was. She was a Rotarian here that passed away. And Laverne came to me and she says, why don't you join Rotary? And I said, of course, what was my question? What's Rotary? Right, yeah, what's it do? And she said, just come out to a meeting. And I said, no. And she said, please, just come out to a meeting. She would not take no for an answer. I don't know where I learned that stuff from. But anyway, Laverne would not take no for an answer. Came out to the meeting. You guys are going to have to help me out with a name. The big tall guy from Bluebell that was doing the boxes.
Cover box.
Bruce, yes. He was the one, he was given a demonstration on the shelter box. and he was, showed this little PowerPoint presentation, and I was like, wow, that's cool. But I still wasn't convinced. And so, but I thought that was really admirable, the shelter box and how Rotary got involved with it and everything. And so, of course, the Vern was on the phone with me. Well, Gary, what do you think? Are you gonna come again? Are you gonna come again? No, I don't think. Nah, it's too early in the morning. 7 o'clock, you have to be nuts to get up at 7, to be at a meeting at 7 o'clock, right? But she convinced me to come again. And the next meeting, I met some nice people that are sitting in this room, and also learning more about what Rotary was about. And so I joined, and the first thing she said to me is, "You're with me on membership." She was the membership chair. She said, "You're with me on membership." And I'm like, okay, what do I have to do, And the next thing that happened is probably somebody sitting in this room, asked me to join the board. And I said, well, how much time does that take? It was all within a week. They said, you join the board. And I said, I don't even know what to do, And he said, I said, how much time commitment? And then they told me, oh, it's only one meeting a month, and you don't have to do much. And I said, all right, I'll be on the board. And the first meeting, in 15 minutes, they said, we need a vice president. And I said,
Sounds familiar.
yeah. I said, hold on. I said, I haven't been a Rotarian in a week. I said, can I just get my feet wet a little bit before we start on that? And so I did say no to that in the beginning. I said, I don't want to go too fast here. So then another couple years went by, and I then did do vice president and eventually become a president. But I do want to talk about the membership, because it is a relatively easy thing if you start, right, John? If you simply talk about Rotary today. I know it sounds too simple, but you just meet a person. And I'm just going to pick on Chuck, okay? I went out to the garden, and I asked Carol. Carol was there, and I said, who's that guy over there? And she says, well, yeah, he's a guy that's just helping out with the garden and Dutch. He's a volunteer. I said, well, did you ask him to join Rotary? And she said, no.
My response was, I'm worried about getting volunteers to start it out.
Right.
It's your job to do Rotary.
I went up to Chuck, and well, the rest is history. He's here. But it's the same thing with any person that you come in contact with. You can ask them to join Rotary in the conversation. You start talking, and you direct the conversation towards being a Rotarian and what we do and how we service people, how we can help people. And I've said this before, but I'm going to go over this one more time, because there's a number of people sitting in the room that were here for this. The project that we did that was probably the best had to be that lady across from the Walmart. I know Dean, Frank was there, Len, I think you were there. Were you both there? I know there were like a half a dozen of us or something. And this woman's house had just overgrown because her husband had died some 30 years before or something. And the trees were just overgrown in the whole place. It was, I remember another guy there, Mike Simone, who was part of it at that time. We went there and we started cutting these trees as fast as we could. I mean, there were trees and branches all over the place. It was 95 degrees on that day. I'm not sure what time we started. It was maybe 10 o'clock or something like that. But I'm telling you, a hot, humid day. We drug ourselves to the car at the street. The whole street was lined with all the branches to be chopped up. I forget who they called to come in and get them. But we worked our tails off on that day. And I was so tired, I almost couldn't walk to the car. Best day as a Rotarian. is because you're doing the service for people. So doing service for people is what the Rotary is about. And when you do that service, when you do that kind of contribution, that strengthens your membership here. You want to be here for Rotary. You want to be a member. You want to start Simply Talk About Rotary today because you've got a story to tell. And you go out there and you tell it, and people are saying, I want to do that. And they will come here, and our club will grow if you do something like that. I don't know, where am I on time here, John? What does that mean? Does that mean I got 1 minute or? Well, I don't know, I can keep talking. So it's another thing about me, I like to talk.
Gary, how did you meet your wife?
Oh, questions now, right?
I haven't heard that story, I don't think.
So I was a Plymouth Meeting Mall bum. A friend and I used to walk around the Plymouth Meeting Mall, and we would just go from store to store. I've been caught, Chuck. I was there for that fire. I really was.
You were there when it started?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
When that fire started, it was thick black smoke just started to pour into the new place that we were building. We were 98% done. And that's when I learned that you cannot breathe in thick black smoke. I went downstairs to see where the fire started, and I went halfway down the steps, and it was so thick, and I had to run back up the other way. But yeah, we were there for that. But anyway, thanks for putting that in. So I was a mall bum before the fire, and a friend of mine and I would go store to store, and we would go see girls in different stores, that kind of thing. I was in Tom McCann's. I had a couple of friends that were there that I was in there talking with, and in walks a friend of mine from school and one of her friends. And her friend was Janet, my wife. And I got to tell you, when I was introduced to her, and while we were all talking and everything, she touched my arm. And I felt a shock go through my body. And I was like, what the heck is this, And what was that? Yeah. But I felt a shock. And okay.
Started the fire.
So, nobody, you know what? Nobody's ever going to want to do a classification talk. So we left there and we went up to another store, and sure enough, her and that other girlfriend walked in there, and then we started. I was like, she couldn't touch me again. She's touched me a few times since then.
That's the last time you saw it.
That I don't know about that. So anyway, who does? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mark.
I just wanted, I can't see the whole room, but I wanted to see by show of hands, how many people are here because you invited them or someone you invited them?
Yeah.
I figured it was going to be quite a few.
So maybe about not quite half. Yeah, it's just it's fun. Then we started the Satellite Club too. Unfortunately, that did not do quite as well as we did here. But I what is the bond for clubs, and that is the projects I'm talking about. I think we need to get involved in projects. It's great that we have committees to do whatever, croquet, golf, that kind of thing. That's necessary as well. That raises funds and such. But we've got to get involved in projects. And when I say, I mean, we have an ongoing project here with the garden, and the garden's going to grow to 8 acres. So we need to do hands-on. When you do that, you feel good. Picking potatoes, how about it, Frank?
Well, there's some things you can skip.
Frank loves picking potatoes, going in the dirt for potatoes.
We
But
learned from that one.
yeah, those things are what you have to have projects ongoing. We've got to, as a club, we've got to come up with those projects. You can't say, hey, John's the president, he's got to do it, okay? Because that's not the way it works. It's us that finds the projects, whether it's an individual or an organization that needs our help. And like I said, we have an ongoing one, which is great. I mean, that's amazing. You can help down the warehouse, you can help at the garden, growing or maintaining or whatever. That's something, but we also need other projects. And it's up to the club to come up with these projects. When you do that, everything bonds together. We will have, let me tell you something, and again, I keep picking on Frank because he's been around so much. I'm not saying you're old, Frank, I'm just saying you've been around. But the thing is, he knows all the different clubs. And you can tell him, compared to other clubs, how we are way better than most clubs. I'm not saying we're the best. We have to try to be the best. We can continue to try to be the best. But the thing is, we have a very active club. All these things that we're doing are great. But in order to keep it going, you can't rest on your laurels. We're going to have to continue to bring in projects and bring in new members. So I think I'm pretty much done unless anybody else has a question.
What's the biggest challenge of a family business?
I'll give you the biggest challenge. I have 3 sons. They're all very, very different. And any of you that have kids, you know that one is different than the other, even though they're both raised by the same 2 people. That can cause issues, and also I might have a way that I want to see the company go, and they may have some different way. And even deeper than that would be, if a person works for me and they don't do what I say, okay, I can easily fire them. Not easily, I shouldn't say easily, but it's difficult to fire anybody. But you can get rid of that person. It is not that easy with family. And you sort of scratch your head and wonder, who is the boss? Is it one of them or is it me? I don't know. You don't. So that's the most difficult. There's that line between employee and family member sometimes gets blurred. Anybody else? When
you fully retire, what are you going to do? Choose croquet or golf?
Oh, there's probably no question. I'll let Lisa answer that question. Definitely be croquet. As far as I'm going to plug for croquet again, I'm going to use Lisa as the example because I invited Lisa out to play croquet one time. Okay? By the second time, she went out and bought a set for $370. Okay? It is addicting. And Lisa said to me one time, I don't know if you remember this, she said, I could play croquet every day. And that's how it feels. You just want to play. Now we play twice a week, sometimes 3. But if you get involved, and I know people think croquet is a little kid's game with little rubber ends on the mallets. I'm telling you, I could kill you with my mallet. It is heavy. It is not the same as when we were kids. And some people have not played ever. So we want all those people to be in our tournament. We want to teach and grow croquet because this is going to be one of our signature events along with the golf and also the Halloween parade. We want to make this a go. So we really can use sponsors, if you're in business or in bank or whatever, if we have a few more sponsors, we will, maybe I'll let the cat out of the bag here, but if we have a few more sponsors, we could maybe make this free for all players. So the sponsors would carry it and be able to pay for, so like Lisa said, that we've had some upfront expenses. We are making our own equipment that is going to belong to the Rotary Club. And that's pretty expensive to do. And so, yeah, we need a few more sponsors and maybe we'll make this a free event. And once you get the ball rolling, I'm in business, okay? And what happens is, if I gave something to the Halloween parade last year, and I'm a businessman, and I see it come up, you solicit me again the following year. I say, oh, we did this last year. Okay, we're gonna do it again this year. And it happens that way. The first year, it's like getting the sponsors. Let's get them, but once you get the ball rolling, and Marsha, of course.
What's the biggest thing you don't miss from Rotary Roses?
That is an easy one. But people. And I tell you what, I am a people lover. I enjoy people, okay? But when you call them general public, and I see Kyle shaking his head there, and people in business, no. They're unreasonable sometimes, just totally unreasonable. My son called, and I alluded to this before, a little bit before, David called me one time, like, I don't know, a year or two after I was out, and they had taken charge. He says, Dad, I have this one person that this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And he says, do you want to hear about it? I said, no. I mean, that's what you don't want to hear, the general public is nasty. So, but people are nice. Go figure. So, any other questions? All right, thank you.
There was one very important thing that Gary touched on, which I kind of brought up last week from the recent Rotary magazine, the message from the CEO of Rotary, talking about, about membership and about how it starts with an invitation. And it's just as simple as that. The scenario that happened with Dan and I mean, he just had a the Rotary card, inviting me to breakfast. He just slid that across the table to me. It was as simple as that. I showed up at a meeting. A couple months later, I'm president-elect. So, yeah. So, but it is as simple as that. Somebody asking you to join, and your enthusiasm, and maybe if you want to, have an opportunity to have an extended conversation, to talk about some of the great projects that we do, some of the great events that we have. But it is something as simple as a conversation. So, for those in this area, anytime you're at Ace Hardware and Hennings, you're going to see one of your neighbors there. So it's easy to bring that up. Any brags or shags this week?
I want to thank everybody who showed up to the garden last weekend, even though I was not there. I was in 110-degree weather in Texas. Helping my daughter with some last minute wedding stuff. She was getting married Sunday of Labor Day weekend in North Carolina. So we were doing some last minute wedding stuff the last couple of days. I want to thank everybody who came to Volpe's open house. I did not see many of you there because I was screwed out at 1 o'clock for my dress fitting for my daughter's wedding. But thank you, everybody.
Gary, do you have any comments about how the event went?
Yeah, the event went very good. We had done this for 15, 17 years prior, open house and raising funds.
Yeah.
And then we had a 2-year gap where we stopped. So this was an upstart again to program. So we didn't raise quite as much as we had hoped. I'm not sure the final numbers yet, believe it or not, but I know that if we wanted to raise 15,000, I think we might be around 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. So it's still very successful, but it wasn't as good as we anticipated. The people we had, I would say, we fell short about 50 people that we did in the previous year.
Okay.
We were growing.
And considering the blazing heat that weekend, I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
sounds pretty good, yeah. You know, interestingly, while I was there that day, on Saturday, one of my neighbors came with his grandkids, and he's involved in the food pantry at St. Maria Goretti Church in Hatfield, and I gave him Chuck's business card to see if they might be able to become a pantry partner. So hopefully.
No, St. Maria already had one, because I know they do collections that end up going to Keystone.
Yeah, he said from my conversation with him, it sounded like they had one. So I told him to get in touch with Chuck to come over and have a tour, talk to you guys. So hopefully we'll be in touch with you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a bunch. We'll start with brag on funnel cake. We helped the Lions Club do funnel cakes. We got a check for $2,000. Plus, it's all you can eat funnel cake. That lasts for the first 15 minutes and you get enough.
Did you sell more? Was it much like they sold out? Is that right? What's that? They sold out 2 days?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They started a new way to do it. They buy frozen funnel cakes. They throw them in, it's 30 seconds and they're done. So they can make them as fast as we could sell them.
I'm just wondering, we never got $2,000 before, it was like 500.
Yeah, like 500.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we need to keep doing that. 4-H fair was a success. I gotta brag, my granddaughter got the grand champion steer that was born on the farm that I ran.
Wow.
And she got $5,100.
Wow.
For sale.
Sounds like a rig to me.
To add to that, there was a person that was there last year. He runs a business, has money to burn evidently. We bought the champions last year. Had them processed, went to Man on Main Street. He did the same thing again this year. He bought the champion hog, the champion steer, the champion lamb. He probably spent 10 grand.
Wow.
Now the sad is my wife had a scan on Monday and the spot on her liver has increased. So they're going to be changing